Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing well. I will give you guys a couple more minutes to log in and get situated. All right. It looks like we're almost there. So make sure that if you need water, if you need anything, to go get that right now as we're waiting for students to come on in. So please go do that right now. If you need to use the restroom, now this would be the time to go use the restroom, right? Mm-hmm. All right, I'll give you guys a couple more seconds. It looks like everybody's giving me some thumbs up and that they're ready to go. We have 20 plus students. Ooh, it looks like we have a full class today. All right. I'm so sorry about my voice. I am actually losing my voice because of the ugly weather right now. It's super cold and it's just very rough. Cold, raining, and it doesn't go well with my allergies and other stuff. So if you hear my voice going away, I'm so sorry. I'm apologizing right now. And it looks like we're ready to go. All right, what are some couple rules that we need to do before we get into our lesson? So, a couple of the things is that remember your mic should always be off at all times. So, it should be voice level 0, right? When Miss Gomez talks, you keep it 0, right? And then our mic should be off because I totally understand that you have baby brothers and sisters, so they might be running around, and that is okay, right? And then another thing is if you have a question, what should we do? We should raise our hand, right? We raise our hand, or we could use the little emoji thing at the bottom. So it looks like I have everybody back. And now is the time for everybody to put their mics at voice level 0, so turning them off. Unless we have a question. Do we have a question, ladies and gentlemen? No? No? Okay, it looks like we're ready to roll. So, today we're going to be learning about the then and now. What does then mean? Then means that it was a long, long, long time ago before your mommies and daddies were born. And then it also means that it was way, way, way back then before grandmas and grandpas were born. I know it was such a long time, but uh, it is what it is. So, and then now it means right now. So we're gonna learn how things were back in the day before grandpas and grandmas were born, and then how things are now. So maybe there was something that we had back then that we don't have now, and maybe we have some things that we have now and that we didn't have back then, right? So let's get into our objectives and standards. So, our objective is that you guys will be learning how people lived back then, remember, before grandmas and grandpas were here, and how we live today. And then we're going to answer a couple of questions like our usual. You know, we're going to take the test once we're done learning about this and we have done our craft, right? Mm-hmm. So, Miss Gomez made a big oopsie, and the standard is not the one that I was supposed to put. So, Miss Gomez is going to read it off her phone. And our standard, remember, teachers have homework, and we need to follow what the California standards tell us. And our homework is to teach you guys to understand how people lived in early times and how their lives would be different today. So, like we're gonna get to learn about what they used to eat, what type of clothes they wore, games, if they had cars, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm so sorry. I should have checked my standard before starting my lesson, but I did not. But that's okay, right? It's okay that we make mistakes. Making mistakes makes us humans, right? I will be correcting that. That way, when I upload it to Clever, you guys will have the correct standard, okay? But as of right now, we're gonna look past that, okay? So, we're looking at this, and then you guys should have done this for homework where you sorted what things were long ago and today, right? So let's look at a couple of them. So can you guys see that little watch on the left side? That's what people used to use back in the days. So you know how we just use our phone and look at the time, or we usually have a little watch here in our wrist. They used to use it and put it right here in their pocket, and then they would take it out, and then they would tell the time like that. Um, my grandpa had one. I unfortunately do not have it with me. He lived in Mexico, so I can't show it to you. And then, as we could see, that other phone, they used to grab it and it was like a cup, and then they put it in their ear to hear what the other person had to say, and then they would talk like this, and then they would put it back, and then they would talk like this. Isn't that crazy? And then back then, they didn't have pens, they didn't have markers, they didn't have pencils, they didn't even have paint. They had to make their own paint, and they used the feathers of other animals to draw, write, and other stuff. So, isn't that neat? And then back then, there wasn't any light. How many of you are scared of the dark? Yeah, I would be pretty scared myself. So back then they didn't have any light how we have nowadays. So they had to make candles, or they would make a fire or things like that to ensure that they had light. But majority of the time they had to get used to their surroundings being dark at night. Like it was not good in the night. In the night it was darker and things like that. So they would try to like not be outside as much in the dark. Now, you know how today we get our food from the supermarket, right? We go to the grocery store, supermarkets, and stuff like that, and we get our food, right? Back then, we didn't. Back then, we had the men, the strong men and women, hunt our food. The men would hunt, the women would peel all the animal skin, and then they would make shoes, they would make clothes, they would make other stuff to ensure to keep warm during the winter, because the winter was so cold, and they lived in these little teepees, so they were like little triangles. Um, and it was just very cold, so they had to use a lot of animal fur and a lot of other stuff to ensure to keep warm. And then back then they didn't have any cars, so they used horses. They used to use donkeys and other animals to get around. And then a lot of people had to go walking, and there was no school or other stuff like that. And then as the years went by, then they made a carriage like the one right there in the corner, where they used a horse to pull them and get to places like that. So imagine getting sick back then. They didn't have any medicine or anything like that. So a lot of the people would use a lot of herbs. What are herbs? Yeah, they're plants. So they used to use plants and other stuff to make sure that they were well, right? And then nowadays we go to the doctor, right? We go to the doctor takes care of us, they give us medicine, and then we're good to go. Now we have cell phones, right? Nowadays we have cell phones. I don't know if you guys could pick it up and see because of my beautiful background. But back then they didn't. You would just have to wait or reach them. You would have to go to the place they were to tell them whatever you needed to tell them. So back then there was no internet, no iPads, no computers, none of that. I know. I see a lot of surprised faces. Nope. There was none of that stuff. No music and stuff. Well, there was music, but different music than the one that we have today. So that was very different back then. Back then, they had a lot of different animals. Now, remember we learned about the word extinct? Can anybody tell me what that was? Yeah, that they're in danger. That maybe we might not see them anymore if we keep on hunting them and eating them, right? Or doing other things with them. Yep. So those are the things that back then they had, and now things have changed, right? Now we have a grocery store. We don't have to hunt. Now we have a factory that makes our clothes. What's a factory? Yep, a place where they make something. Now we have shoes. Now we have clothes being made. Now we go to the doctor when we're sick. Now, if we need to get somewhere, we take the car, right? Back then, we didn't. A lot of things have changed, right? Yep. Now we're gonna move on, and I want to put this little video for you guys. I can't read the story to you guys, but I'm gonna have this YouTube video for you. So listen closely.
The Story of the Pilgrims by Catherine Ross, illustrated by Carolyn Kroll. Once upon a time, in the land of England, there lived a small group of people called pilgrims. The pilgrims were unhappy because the King of England would not let them worship God in their own way. So the pilgrims packed up their belongings and said a tearful goodbye to their homes and their friends and the world they knew. On a mild day in autumn, they set sail for a new world called America, which was across the wide ocean. Other families came along. Together, they hoped to find freedom and a better life. More than 100 people squeezed into a small wooden sailing ship called the Mayflower. 22 of the pilgrims were children. For their journey, they brought with them only the simplest foods, things like hard cheese, bread, dried beans, and salted meat. Day after day, the pilgrims saw nothing but the endless ocean and sky. Now and then, the huge slippery body of a whale would break the surface of the water. On and on they sailed, through calm days and stormy ones, until, after 66 days at sea, they heard the words they had been dreaming of for so long.
Lines for you to find.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna have to pause it right here, because we need to get you guys ready to go to your little break. So you guys could grab a snack, go to the bathroom, get some water before we come back to our seats. So before you leave, I need you guys to pay close attention to the book because they just said some things that they used to do back then, and we're gonna be talking about this. So before I let you guys go, remember I need you guys to come back with your journal, with the pencil, a couple markers or crayons, color pencils, whatever you like. Remember, that's your choice. And then I need you guys to be ready to tell me some things that you heard from the book and would like to share with the classroom. And then maybe some things that we have now that back then, like in the book, they didn't have. All right. So, right now, I need you guys to go take your little break, and then I'll see you guys in 5 minutes, okay? So, go take your little break, and then I'll see you in 5 minutes, okay?